to explaining the U.S. decision to sell F-16s to Pakistan, but there was also a phrase saying the U.S. wished to help India become a major power in the 21st century. We can talk about whether it makes sense for one country to offer to help another in that regard. This gets into high philosophy. The real point, though, is that the U.S. was looking with a smile on the prospect of India becoming a bigger player and was prepared to be cooperative in that attempt. This has, in a way, been the policy of both the Republicans and the Democrats over the past 5 years. And initially, the U.S. tried to do it by, in a sense, quarantining the differences between the U.S. and India over India's anomalous nuclear status. It became clear within the past couple of years that this quarantining effort really wasn't working and that we needed to find another formula, and that's what got you the India-U.S. nuclear understanding. Now, both Joan and George have talked about what they consider to be the defects in the deal. I think anyone you would ask would say it wasn't a perfect agreement. Apart from the excitement in the Indian press, I think many people in India are quite uncomfortable with what turns out to have been kind of the first test case under the agreement, which was the Indian vote in the International Atomic Energy Commission, the International Atomic Energy Agency, sorry, IAEA. India voted with the majority on a vote that included the possibility of referring Iran to the UN Security Council. Now, there was lots of fine print attached to the vote. The fact is that there was a division in the international community, and India lined up with the United States and against Iran. This is not a situation that was very comfortable for it. It was something to which the U.S. attached great importance. The fact of the matter is, though, that the deal that you had, that George described, is what was negotiated between India and the United States. And so there isn't a completely blank slate for either side to write what would have been a more ideal agreement. That brings me to what I consider to be the non-proliferation benefits of the agreement. I think the key thing that it does, besides the technical things that my colleagues on the panel can describe much more learnedly than I can, is to put India inside the system by which the international community restrains the further spread of nuclear explosive technology. India has, as a matter of policy, not exported nuclear technology. It has in particular not exported it to countries that drive the United States nuts. At the moment, this is a matter of policy, presumably for reasons that the Indian government finds compelling on its own behalf. I believe it's worth quite a lot to make that not just a unilateral matter of policy, but a matter in which the U.S. and India have invested some mutual obligations. That's the significance of India wanting to become a participant in the nuclear suppliers group, and I hope I've chosen a word that permits me to sidetrack the word membership, which I realize has all kinds of other barnacles on it. This isn't just a privilege, it's also a set of obligations, and there are obligations that are significant for the United States. Now, this clearly is a major deviation from the non-proliferation system that the U.S. largely set up, and not something that one should do lightly. I would argue that the fact that 4 countries have developed nuclear weapons since the NPT was signed also puts some stress on that system, and ought to make us rethink what are the most important non-proliferation dangers. Some have argued that making this exception for India would send a bad signal to the Irans and North Koreas of this world. I find that a rather weak argument. The United States has thoroughly sanctioned both Iran and North Korea, so that essentially they've already